speaking, or later on if you want to ask a question. You can also ask a question in the chat. We have a specific moment for open discussion, but we also take question for each presentation, so you can write it in the chat, or every different speaker will ask about that after his presentation. And we would like to record this meeting. So if you agree with that, I will ask Julie to start the recording, if there's no objection. Okay, thank you. So it started. Okay, perfect. So as I said, the objective of this meeting is to get to gather the feedback from the SME that took part of the deployment voucher process, about the tools, the services, and over the overall process that you went through. I will ask you to close your micro, please. Otherwise, Julie, you maybe can do it as well. Thank you. And also we also invited some of the DIH, because I think we think that this experience would be also of interest for them when they are doing deployment project to support their local SME. And as I said, we want to prepare the next round of deployment voucher and taking stock of what happened in the first round. So this is the agenda for today. This was actually my introduction. That was even shorter than 5 minutes. So we are going through the result of the open call, and TNO will present the type of company and how they went through the deployment voucher. We talk about the administrative process. What did you think about that? How it went? The change to twin tools. Which technology from the marketplace did you use and why? And then we will get some experience from the mentors. Then we will have the report on the SME survey that we shared with the company that did the deployment experiment. And then some testimony from the company itself about the process and the mentorship and everything from their perspective. So we asked them to be honest and also to provide constructive criticism if it's what they think. And then we will talk about the standards, that how do you use standards and why we think it's important, but indeed what are the issue in the use of standard, for instance. And then we will have this open session, 10-15 minutes, where you can share your thought or give us feedback or ask question or whatever you want to express about that. And then we will wrap up and conclude the meeting. So with that, we'll give the floor to Joke, I think, no? To TNO. And about the open call results. And unfortunately, I don't have the presentation. Barcia, hi.
Yeah, hi.
So I will stop presenting and yeah, I'll give you the floor.
Thank you very much. I'll share my screen. Can you see my screen now?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Right. Okay. Thank you very much. So so my name is Bartje. For those who don't know me, I work at TNO together with Joke and Laura, and also on the Change to Twin project. And I analyzed the mostly the reports, the final reports of the companies regarding the deployment voucher. Okay, so first of all, the participants, there were 11 companies that participated in the deployment voucher or who were given the deployment voucher. One of them stepped out, unfortunately, because of supplier issues, but there were 10 other companies who continued, as you can see here. The sectors are very broad, but most of them are in manufacturing. So the countries that they're from is very spread throughout, I would say, Southern and Eastern Europe mostly, and there are 4 companies from Spain, and the rest of them from Italy, Greece, Austria, etc., as you can see here. The reason why they wanted to have a digital twin was mostly due to optimization and best quality. I think most of the companies wanted to improve their efficiency, the efficiency of their processes, and also their quality monitoring, so that they could improve the quality of their products that they were manufacturing. And scheduling was quite a big topic as well, to improve their schedules, their planning. Then when we continue with the with the KPIs that they defined and measured. So these are the measured results from the company. There are also certain goals that they set, but they haven't reached yet. I would say this is quite positive. I mean, most of the companies really had a lot of help from the digital twin. The throughput time increased or decreased a lot. They saved a lot of other time, for example, working hours, labor hours, but also changeover time, lead time, delivery time, as you can see here. They also used the digital twin for predictive maintenance, which saved a lot of money, and to detect errors in order to improve the quality of their products, as I mentioned before as well, which had a lot of good results as well. So, for example, they were able to detect a lot of errors, and also the alarms that they received were more accurate as well. This saved quite some money as well. And then they all stated some more KPIs regarding, for example, cost reduction, time reduction as well, again, waste reduction, to reduce the energy consumption and the accuracy of the data that they're using for the processes. And most of the companies mentioned that they suspect to achieve these goals as well. Of course, the digital twin made a lot of impact on the companies and their processes. Mostly, actually, the biggest improvement from that was received from the digital twin was to create more insight into the processes and what could possibly be improved. So I think that's something very valuable from the digital twin that we can take away from this project. They also mentioned a lot that the digital twin was such a promising innovation that they aim to upscale the innovation in their company. It improved the customer satisfaction, as you can see, the efficiency, as I mentioned before as well, the carbon footprint. Of course, with all these improvements, the sales and revenues went up as well. So I would say a lot of positive results from the digital twin. not that many companies use the marketplace. Only 2 out of 11 or 10. This was mainly due to the fact that they needed a tailor-made solution to their problem or to their company, and this wasn't provided on the marketplace, not exactly the way that they wanted to. However, 5 out of 10 companies mentioned that they would be willing to offer the solution that they produced and used for their own company on the marketplace for others to use. So that's, I would say, very positive. There were many lessons learned and during the project, and I listed the 5 lessons that were mentioned the most. So first of all, it's very, very important to have the right data, to have access to the right data in an easy way. Make sure that it's accurate because the digital twin depends on this data. And second of all, it was crucial to have the people with the right skills and with an overview of the project. So for example, the people that led the assessment phase should have led the deployment phase as well, was mentioned a couple of times. Everybody has to understand the digital twin, of course, and know how to work with it. Then most of the companies found it very useful to define milestones and especially the KPIs to measure their the performance, but also to have a clear plan. And that they mentioned as well that it's very important to have a clear plan to follow because it makes it very concrete, which was found to be very essential in order to implement the digital twin in a successful way. Well, for example, as I mentioned in the beginning, one company unfortunately had to step out due to supplier issues. More companies mentioned this as well, the fact that they noticed that you shouldn't be dependent on an external partner, for example, a supplier. And 2 ways to avoid this is to have very clear communication, which is aligned, I think, with the previous point as well, and milestones from the start, but also having alternative options in case it doesn't work out. And I think 18% of the companies mentioned as well that that it's very important that it's useful to start with a small process, use the digital twin in this smaller process, know how to use it, learn from it, and then start upscaling and use it for multiple processes or a bigger one for the entire company. Which something that I found really nice is that the companies were very positive about the Change the Twin project. It offers them the opportunity to innovate and digitalize their operations in a way that they weren't able to do this before. They received very good support from the mentors, which was very helpful. Of course, it's easy access to funding, and it well, I think this aligns with what I mentioned about the milestones and the KPIs. They found it very useful to have a good framework to implement a digital twin into their daily operations. So to conclude, I think we can state that the digital twin is mostly useful for optimization and best quality, so to optimize the efficiency of processes and the quality of products. I think this goes hand in hand with monitoring the quality of the processes. The KPIs that we measured show how a lot of time is saved, errors can be predicted, quality can be improved, and with all this, cost can decrease a lot. However, the biggest impact is that it's proven to be very useful to have insight in certain processes and how they can be improved. It's very important to have access to accurate data, to the right human resources, and not be dependent on external partners. And overall, the Change the Twin project provided an opportunity for companies to digitalize, to innovate, which has led to promising implementations of digital twin solutions. So I think it's a very successful project. That was it. If you have any questions, please let me know.
Thank you, Bartje. There's no question at the moment, I think. But maybe we can discuss, because I have a question, but I want to keep it till the end, because I want to hear also the other presentation.
Okay.
About
okay. I'm not sure if I can make it till the end of the meeting, so.
But because it's related to the use of standards, because you said that there are technologies, there are companies that want to provide their technology to the marketplace.
Yeah.
Or are thinking to do it. I mean, in some cases, one in particular, I think Dan is here from Maroft. They also did it already. Other maybe are thinking to do it. And the question is about also the user standard, because from what I understood is that sometimes standards were not in the focus of the SME and of the development in some cases, and how this could be reconciled, because if you plan to offer it to other in the marketplace, I guess that it should be anyway compliant with some of the standards.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's a comment, is not really a question.
Okay.
But maybe Jochen later will tell us more about that in his presentation. And so that I will pass the floor to Anka Marin, and I will share my screen.
Thank you, Francesca. Sorry. Good morning, everyone.
And I will, go through the slide as you tell me, Anka.
Okay, thank you so much. Okay. We already know each other so well. I wanted to start with a brief overview of where everybody was from in this first deployment voucher program and the sectors, but this has already been done by Taneo before. So we've got to know each other throughout this more than 11 months support program period, and we know that most of the communication came from the countries that are showed here, like Spain, Slovenia, Portugal, Italy, Ireland, Greece, Austria, and Serbia. And the sectors that were the main focus in this first open deployment call, in this first open deployment voucher program, were coming from the metal sector, beverages and food, development, manufacturing, and textiles and furniture. So this was very interesting for us to take into account as we got to learn more about your project, because we could actually see what digital twinning could do in your business, even in areas like food and beverages, where it didn't really sound like a match for some of the applicants. But with the success stories and with some of the memorable moments caught up on camera for us, and the videos, we can show those success stories, and we can make the digital twin process more understandable to other manufacturing companies. So I wanted to start with this very important takeaway for us in the Change to Twin project, that digital twinning became relatable to a lot of businesses, to a lot of manufacturing processes and sectors, due to the fact that your work was documented and showcased in a lot of environments, and we disseminated this information and was very, very useful for applicants in the second deployment voucher, because they actually had some use case they could relate to, and they could better understand how you've done it and how it could be applied in their case. So that would be just to thank you for opening this door of opportunity for others, and being able to present your work in order for us to communicate it better and make change to twin and digital twinning more accessible to others. Now, what we wanted to touch here in this administrative process is basically the FSTP, financial support to third parties, and what it meant for us and for you in this deployment voucher first program. Can you get to the next slide, Francesca, please? Okay, so we are trying to make a brief rerun of the moments that you've been through once you have been selected as beneficiaries of the first deployment voucher program. So once you have received the news, and it was very important for us to start the formal and legal check. And this is something that showed us it is important, and it was something that we applied in the second deployment voucher call. It is important for companies to understand their status, because you remember it had to be a manufacturing SME or mid-cap, and this was very important. So during the formal check, the documents that you presented and the documents that our colleagues in legal went through in order to confirm your status revealed that it is important that applicants have a very good understanding of this condition, of this eligibility condition from the very beginning. So we stressed that throughout our webinars and other information material that we used to support the application process. Some of the company, one case in particular, they didn't go through the formal check and they didn't sign the subgrant agreement because of this fact, because of the fact that they were not actually a manufacturing SME. The following step was the signature of the subgrant agreement. You know that the subgrant agreement is not does not have negotiable parts. So for us, it was important that you understood that part of the process, that you understood the subgrant agreement obligations. And together with you, we learned that there are some aspects that we need to stress out when we communicate to the following batch of applicants. Like, for example, the timeline of the program, the 11 months period. It was surprising at times to be talking to some of you after so many months of work together and realize that it was not clear that the program will end in 11 months time, and that the timeline that they considered in the individual mentoring planning had to be aligned with the timeline of the support program. So the QES and handwritten signature process for the subgrant agreement went smooth in some cases, a bit tougher in others, but we all succeeded to have these documents in place. It is important for us to receive the grant agreement with valid signatures, because these are object of audit later down the road. And one very important aspect here is that in some cases, ideally, it was to have received the subgrant agreement signed by all parties, that is SINTEF, FVA, and you as beneficiaries, before the start of the program. However, if that didn't happen, it didn't mean that you could not start working on the project, because that would have been a delay. The same is with the individual mentoring plan. As you may remember, the first step was working together with the assigned mentor to to create this individual mentoring plan. This was like a business plan that you wanted to have as guidelines throughout the support program. And the project execution started just as soon as you started working on the individual mentoring plan. One lesson we learned here was for us to better communicate something, and that is the approval and the payment regarding the first tranche, the approval of the individual mentoring plan, are not to be considered as milestones before actually starting the program. So the project execution starts at month 1, and irrespective of the date of the approval and the payment for the IMP, the project should go on. This is something that we have now highlighted, and we are going to make sure that the second batch of beneficiaries really understand it and they don't stop working until they know that the IMP was approved. The IMP was a work in progress. As you've seen, it was like a live document that you could go back to during the 2 months that you worked with the mentor and make adjustments and try to really connect and make the coherence between whatever you have planned to do during the 11th month support program and the timeline of this support program, because some objectives or some scopes could not be totally realized, achieved during the 11 months period. So it was important for you to adapt to that timeline. Still related to the IMP, the process that we together with you are fine-tuned in this first deployment voucher is that once the IMP is in a final form, we will communicate, and we communicated the stages that the beneficiaries have to expect. These stages are explained in the sub-grant agreement, but we do realize you don't go so often to the sub-grant agreement as we do, and you may overlook some aspects. So the approval of the IMP is followed by the approval of the payment, and this would be the first the first tranche of payment in the support program. The same with the final deliverable. It was very important for you to work closely with the mentors. We have learned that it is important for you to receive a structure of the final deliverable. If you want some sort of template to work on as soon as possible, and to make sure you find the coherence between what you have written in the individual mentoring plan and the final deliverable, so that these documents are a reflection of what was intended and what was achieved. And this way it makes it easier for the evaluation committee to look at it and score it and approve the final deliverable. So both these documents, these deliverables, and I have to say from my experience with the FSTP project, this has been a very, very easy task for you to fulfill. Just having 2 deliverables the payments were based on. This was very, very, very little information and very little effort asked from the Change to Twin Consortium in comparison to other projects. So the 2 milestones were related to just these 2 deliverables to be completed correctly and on time. And the payments were done once they were approved by the mentoring committee and scored, and then validated by the application experiment management board. This is a process that takes longer sometimes, because we did have to go back to some of the final deliverables and ask for improvements. And we learned that it is good to treat each case individually and proceed with the validation and payment in stages, instead of having everyone wait for those 1 or 2 deliverables that still needed some work on. It was mentioned before that we learned with some of the beneficiaries. 11 of us started this journey, and we had one dropping out after the first stage, after the IMP, and this was due to the high subcontracting they had. They were highly reliable on the technical provider, and even with the support of the mentor and with our support to try to identify an alternative that would enable them to get to the end line of the project, this was not possible. So they had to drop out. This lesson helped us communicate the importance of having a very balanced budget to the applicants in the second open call. Like if they are considering externalizing more than 80% of this project, they no longer have control, and this may happen. So this was a very, very valuable lessons that we learned together with you in this first program. Again, we had some delays, and some of them were based on the technology providers not delivering on time. And as you have seen in the subgrant agreement, we had the option to extend, to allow extensions up to 2 months for those beneficiaries needing it in order to complete their work and then complete the final deliverable. This is not ideal because it reflects on the timeline of the execution that was initially estimated in the IMP. It delays payments and the entire process. However, it was a positive solution, and the outcome was very, very, very good because this enabled us to actually validate and make the payments for all the beneficiaries that didn't drop out and made it to the end of the program. That is the 10 of you succeeding to finish the support program of the deployment voucher. With the IMP, we also realized that it is very important that you communicate very well with the mentor and that you try to make a very realistic estimation of a timeline and the budget, very coherent with your resources. And most of you have done that, and it was very impressive to see that you are very in touch with your internal organization, and you are very aware of the process, and you could estimate that in a very, very professional and realistic manner. So that was very important. But we are still going to take it as a lesson learned to try to stress it enough for the beneficiaries in the second round of the deployment voucher. And lastly, one lesson that we learned and we are going to pay very much attention to in the next program is communication. So we learned the importance of having a very clear assigned person within the beneficiaries organization that will keep in touch with the mentors, both having the availability to attend the meetings and the communication skills to support those meetings. So has been difficult at times with some beneficiaries to ensure of lean communication and to get to the end of the project with successful results. So this is something that we are definitely going to be very conscious of and very considerate when we are looking at the second batch of beneficiaries of the deployment voucher. Other than that, I will be here up to the end of the workshop, and I'm looking forward to hear your opinions and stuff. Maybe some of these processes could be improved in your perception, and we are very willing to hear your perception on that, your perspective on that. And thank you again to everyone for, on my side, the communication went very, very well. So thank you for that. Thank you for being very supportive of all our communication actions, and for counting on you on so many occasions to disseminate the results of this open call. As said, I'm here, so I look forward to hearing your feedback on how we can improve, if we can improve something in the administrative process, or maybe learn about some of your, let's call them, struggles in this FSTP process that we could reanalyze and make them better for the others. Thank you, Francesca.
Thank you, Anka. So if you have any question or comment for Anka about this, the administrative process, you can also type it in the chat and we can have a look later. Or so please don't be shy. That's for us, it's very important to get your feedback.
Great, thank you.
And with that, I go to the next presentation, which is about the use of the Change to Twin tools. And I have a slide, a couple of slides from Anna Sumereter from BOK, which I see there. Please, the floor is yours.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Francesca. So basically, I will quickly come back to the marketplace. What was the idea of it? And then I will outline how we used and how you used the marketplace tools. And yeah, starting with the idea of the marketplace was intended to bring together the digital twin requirements from business scenarios, so from your digital twinning scenarios with available marketplace offerings. And during the mentoring, the digital twin challenges and the requirements were identified and discussed among you and also with the mentors. And a suitable software solution or also hardware solutions and sensors were introduced. Those ranged from the digital twinning design to the operation and execution. And in general, it may be observed that the marketplace offerings were not as extensively used as we originally envisioned that it would be done during the deployment voucher experiments. However, apart from the Change to Twin marketplace, there are already numerous other marketplaces online and also a lot of offerings online. And you were also aware of tools that you are already familiar with it. And therefore, the idea is to foster more collaboration among different marketplaces and also with other initiatives. And particularly interesting here is the underlying marketplace model that may serve as a management environment for diverse marketplace offerings. For instance, using the crawler feature to retrieve items from other marketplaces, or the semantic search to match your business requirements with the marketplace offerings. It could be observed that the marketplace sustainability may benefit from well-established tools that are provided as marketplace offerings. So for instance, the printing use case by Precious applied the process management environment tool Adonis, which was also offered on the marketplace. However, they did not come to the tool via the marketplace. They were already aware of the tool before getting in touch with Change to Twin. And therefore, the idea for future tools may be that prominent marketplace items, for instance, from core Change to Twin partners, may be an option to raise the awareness of the marketplace and also to draw attention to further offerings that may not be that well known already. In addition, the documentation tool by Author E was an own offering at the marketplace, which was also used by everybody of you because it was used for sophisticated document creation, for instance, for the IMPs that were mentioned by Anka, and also for the final deliverables. It could be said that the marketplace still is work in progress content-wise. So there are continuously new marketplace offerings integrated. Some of the deployment voucher experiments also indicated that they would be interested in adding their solution or at least parts of their solution to the marketplace. And we are aware of one experiment that already went through the process of integrating their solution successfully. And if you are still interested, you can enroll your solution and contact us. Feel free to do so. And on the next slide, there are some more details on this new offering.
Sorry, I put it wrongly. Oh, sorry, just give me a second. No, I don't have the slide at the moment. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's this. No.
No.
Wait a second. I will share. Don't worry. I only have to. You should see it now. Sorry for this. So as mentioned, there was one experiment that already added their tool, and the tool was a foundation for the digital twin of Maroft, which is a Slovenian company. It focuses on high quality forging and turning part production in the automotive industry. And they were especially challenged by the creation of the working schedule, as it was not trivial due to a lot of human decisions involved, changing orders, subcontractor involvement, and other challenges. And the planning was so far conducted completely manually by the production planner. Mainly one experienced person did this job, and it used a lot of Excel files and different inputs. And therefore, there was a very high dependency on the planner as well as on the production efficiency that should for sure comply with the delivery times that were needed for the orders. And hence, Maroft aimed at the production planning digital twin. They successfully integrated and developed it. And among other tools, they used the computer-controlled lean production, so the CC Leap tool that is also a tool on the marketplace now. And this was by the company Incoltech. The tool supports, among other aspects, machine monitoring and automated maintenance management. And it comes with a manufacturing execution system that allows for the integration of external modules, for instance, optimization or ERP modules. And specifically interesting for digital twinning, and also for the company Maroft, was the integration and the additional usage of the simulation environment CMU. And yeah, that was it from my side so far. If you have any questions, feel free to type it in the chat window or come back to me later. And if you are still interested in adding your solutions to the marketplace, feel free to contact us, and we will guide you through this process.
Thank you, Anna. So I go back to share, and I invite Roman.
Hello, everybody. I hope you can hear me and see me.
Yes. So the floor is yours about a mentor feedback from our perspective. Thank you.
Okay. So, hello, everybody. My name is Roman. I'm representative of Cloud Broker team in the Change to Twin project. And the deployment voucher, I've been a mentor for experiment, which experience I'm happy to share with all of you during our workshop. I'd like to tell you short stories about challenges we had, what are the possible solutions from the current perspective when experiment is done, and finally the brief lessons we learned and want to share. So first problem is certainly classic for any project we might have. When one of the personnel or team members leaves the project, whether it's temporarily due to maternity leave or personal business, or even permanent absence when person leaves the company. In our experiment, a key communication person left and then the new one took over responsibilities. It hasn't impacted our project severely, but the late notice was surprising for me as a mentor. Possible solution for the project with SME or DIH and mentor is to establish agreements between both where we note down responsibilities to be taken over with respect to the current project progress. And if possible, it's always good to make a short call so that mentor and new person can be introduced to each other and mentor can acknowledge the status of takeover. The next common issue is a language barrier and terminology used in documentation and project communications as well. Our consortium always foresee if native language of experiment and mentor matches, but it happens not very often. So the background of potential issue is that discussion in English between non-native speakers can lead to miscommunication, especially in technical terms. Our project avoided that risk and all clarifications were done in a good manner. However, I suppose we might need to have a systematic approach for this. A possible solution would be to have a common glossary between mentor and company where we can clearly define technical terms we depend on during experiment. There goes popular keywords like user story, case study, business model, and so on. In my opinion, such practice could save a lot of time on clarifications before and after the document reviews. The next slide, please. So the next problem is missing a deadline. There is no red pill on this topic, and any project can have delays. Still, it's important to consider it within deployment voucher context. Mentor obviously can't help your team deliver things faster, but the best he could do is to inform consortium on such issues so that the project can be finalized with all legal aspects. The success of this approach is also depends on companies working on experiment. The earlier they inform mentor about even minor risks or delays, the earlier consortium will be aware about this. The last issue sums up not only the previous, but rather every point discussed. Quality of communication directly impacts the flow of our project. Good communication handles the obstacles and mitigates risks immediately. Bad communication not only lacks abilities to help, but also put the project in danger. Mentors must communicate on a monthly basis, but it doesn't mean we should only send a formal letter to justify this role. The main goal is to discuss everything that goes around the current state of the project and its future. Do not neglect having monthly calls. If everyone is extremely busy, set up a group chat where all can communicate asynchronously. Now, let's sum our lessons up. I guess that should be the last slide. In a few bullet points everyone can remember. First, create a project glossary if needed. Second, if you have changes in your team, always communicate with mentor as early as possible. The third, communication is the key. Communicate not for the formal check, but for the project information. And the last but not least, try to document things as much as possible. If something isn't documented, then it simply doesn't exist. That's all from my side, and if you have any questions, do not hesitate to put it in the chat or in the question section.
Thank you very much, Roman. That was very, very insightful.
Thank you, Francesca.
And now I leave the floor to Armir.
Yeah, good morning,
from
all.
listen to his experience.
Good afternoon. So a bit on myself. I'm a professor of computer science and engineering at the University of Bologna, and I had the pleasure or duty within Change to Twin to mentor two deployments. I mentioned the sectors in here. One was in the food and beverage, let's say, sector. The other one was on textile. Now, the points I highlight in the following do not necessarily pertain to these two deployment experiences. As you should know, there is a Change to Twin mentoring committee and we exchange opinions. What I've tried to do is identify three key phases, starting from the deployment voucher to the deliverable submission, and highlight some keys to success. So starting from the proposal, in here the DIH is involved with the SME potentially. So the key to success in here is to have a clear and ambiguous deployment proposal with concrete and tangible outcomes. So I've underlined these keywords as a key to success for a good proposal. In my own experience, what I've seen that is a key ingredient is the recipes one identifies and then goes on to implement, which can be either complementary, so take a complementary view, different technologies, different aspects, different vantage points toward implementing the digital twin, and or incremental. So you start from the digital twin of a thing, then go on and broaden the scope and check the entire process. Now, another key important part is to clearly identify the model of the digital twin. And in specific, I've made a point to highlight these data-driven approaches. And the thing that needs to be considered very carefully if one needs to pursue a data-driven approach is to make sure they have historical data, hopefully before the project starts, or at the very least to have an established process curating and fitting this data. Okay, and the last point on this proposal part is the DIH or whomever follows the SME, if it's an external source, they should be aligned on the goals and expectations. So it is key that the SME understands even at a high level what the digital twin entails and what it does for them. In the next part, there is a next phase, which is that of the IMP. So the individual mentoring plan, where the SME or the deployment voucher winner, along with the mentor, they try to highlight and delineate a plan. So the key in here is to devise a reasonable IMP, paying attention to the following: the project execution methodology. So in this first deployment voucher experience, what was, let's say, the trend on the execution methodology was to pursue a waterfall methodology. So you finish with the requirement solicitation, then go on to the design, then go on to the implementation and measuring the KPIs. This does not necessarily translate into, let's say, a winning practice for all. So probably depending also on the type of digital twin, on the complexity of the processes involved, an agile methodology might be a key winning practice in here. Okay, so have some sprints, weekly sprints or monthly sprints. This depends, of course, on the type of digital twin and on the practices the SME adopts internally. But an agile methodology tends to be a winning methodology whenever you enter into a complex project. Project management structure Now, in the IMP, we explicitly mentioned the involvement on the mentor in work package 1, which is also the management work package. The mentor is part of it, and the mentor will ask you to, let's say, conduct or organize monthly or periodic meetings where you synchronize with the mentor on the ongoing of the project. An important part in the management structure is that the SME has some built-in redundancy, so that there is no single person involved on the SME side, and if that person leaves, as my colleague mentioned before, then periodic meetings do not take place. So this is a very poor practice. Communication and alignment is key to success. Okay, for the project execution part. Another point would be the KPIs, which should be measurable. And it's a mean for us as mentors or as the Change to Twin mentoring committee to assess the success of the deployment voucher. Now, it's understandable that, KPIs generally are the pain point, or they cannot, let's say, be immediately identified but by talking with the mentor, this could be, let's say, a road to success. Now, another point is identifying risks and be practical when identifying these risks and have a mitigation plan. Here I mentioned Murphy's Law, which we are all aware of. So if a person or a technical person leaves the company, you need to have a mitigation plan. Let's say software development generally is a bit risky. It tends to shift in time. If there is any hardware involved that you need to buy from an external source, considering the recent situation, this may be a potential risk. So you need to have a mitigation plan for it. Now, in this IMP part, it is important that the mentor and the SME are aligned on the goals and on the expectation. On the project execution methodology, have a clear and redundant management structure, align on the KPIs, which then we use to assess the success of your deployment voucher. Now, on the last slide is the execution part, even though I mentioned most of the points applicable to the IMP are also applicable to the execution. Now in here, important are these periodic calls, which you use to inform and align the mentor on the progress and potential issues, so that we can refine potentially the plan due course when this is still possible. Another important part, which is not highlighted in here and which is generally a pain point for SMEs, is the deliverable or documenting the process. Now, even if you manage to revolutionize your processes via the digital twin, so it has had a tangible impact. If this is not reflected in the deliverable, or the deliverable is poorly written, that is the only mean we have, or the Change to Twin mentoring committee has to assess the success of your deployment voucher. So you need to pay attention to this deliverable. Now, as a last point, I'm mentioning here that the mentor is a technical person. So the Change to Twin mentoring committee has different expertises in the field. However, a single mentor is not a know-it-all person, but we rely on each other, so we have direct access to a pool of qualified and complementary technical people. So please pay attention to the relationship with the mentor, discuss, inform him or her during periodic calls, and that is a good practice towards the success of your deployment voucher. This was all I had, and thank you all. In case there are any questions, an hour afterwards, I will be here.
Thank you, Armir. That was also very, very insightful. Actually, to be honest, I think that maybe it was not mentioned clearly in some IMP. At least some of them use the agile implementation. Yeah, it depends, of course, on the different experiments.
But I'd expect an SME to pursue an agile methodology. From my experience, this was not always the case. So, but it depends on internal practices, and yeah.
Okay, thank you. And next presentation, it will be about the result of the SME survey that will be presented by Julie and later by Egbert. Please, Julie.
Yes, thank you, Francesca. So we sent a survey to SMEs at the end of the first deployment voucher process. So please, could you go on the next slide, Francesca? Yes, thank you. Our aim was to gather feedbacks from SMEs to improve our process, to better understand SMEs' need, but also to share these feedbacks with other DRH that are also here to support companies in their digital process. So we get 8 SMEs in 10 that answered to the survey. And the survey was based on the 3 main pillars that composed our process, the authority tool, the marketplace, and mentorship. The next slide, please. Thank you. So the first question was about authority tool. Has it helped you? And mostly the answer is yes. So Egbert will explain us why we decided to use the authority, and then answer some SMEs comment. So Egbert, I give you the floor.
Okay, Julie, thank you very much. Yes, my name is Egbert Heuvelman from the Alter company. Well, it's important to realize why Alter has been chosen above other editors like Word and Google Docs. In the first instance, it is a European product. We are in a European project, so it makes sense to look also in what's available on this continent. And Alter is also used for writing Horizon 2020 and Horizon Europe proposals for some while. It's used by large organizations to write structured documents. And so we thought it's also very useful for writing the proposal, the mentoring plan, and the final deliverable this way, because this way we can enforce document structure and we'll be able to update centrally the document template. We can follow the status centrally, because what you fill in for the status will be presented centrally on another place. We can adjust the roles more accurately. On the other side, we want to limit the editing functionalities, so we have more uniform document. And there's some other things like functionalities like deep linking notes, which should help people while working together. But of course, people are used to use a Word-alike editor and Alter. Although it's older for the online version, it's older than Google Docs and Word Online. We do it since 1998. It's different, and that's always difficult for people to get used to. So I agree on forehand that people would like to use their own Word to use the products, but seeing those reasons, maybe you can have more understanding for it. Next slide will be showing some comments, but in general, you see that, yeah, well, you can see it over here. I just want to highlight some of those comments briefly. The general editing interface isn't great. Well, true, in sense that's different from Word. It's an open source editor which is actually used mainly on all other platforms for online editing. It's a very popular editor and adjusts to our own need. It should give the look and feel. Should give the how you call it? What you see is what you get feeling. Although apparently, with according to this comment, it's not looking exactly the same. Surprised me a little bit, but yeah, maybe there were some problems. Then about copying text and image from Microsoft, that should work, but not together. You can copy text into Authory. We have on purpose, we put on a filter, so your layout can be lost a little bit. And if there are images in the same copy paste, it will be ignored. So you have to paste the images separately. So these are things I thought I told them when we had this first presentation about Authory, but apparently this has been missed. What would you improve? Some formatting functions. Yeah, also this is a thing which we can discuss about. I will ask the person who wrote this what exactly was missing, or he or she was missing. Third comment, yeah, that freezing screens, this is not nice. It is indeed, it can happen, and we work on that, of course, and but when introducing new functionalities, there's always a risk that somewhere in a specific situation something goes wrong. Yeah, also the feedback about errors is a question. I don't know if you can fix that completely. What would you improve? The graphical interface and interaction is not intuitive. I will contact also this this person what exactly is wrong and what should be improved, because this is too general. Also another text about formatting text, which was on purpose limited, but should not give problems. So I'll ask as well. And on purpose, we turned off the functionality to make an export, although maybe we should turn it on. It's something we have to discuss internally. And the last one, yes, I agree on forehand. It's probably easier to work with DocX, but it has not the benefits of all the other reasons we choose for Authory. So again, I will contact the persons in questions that had some remarks I want to get clarified. And if other people have some comments, they can put, of course, it in the chat right now. Thank you.
Thank you, Albert. Thank you also all the companies for these good comments. It helped us to improve all the tools. So the second part of the survey was about the change between marketplace. We already talked about that earlier, but the question was, did you find solution on the marketplace that was useful for your digital twin? Mostly the answer was no. In most cases, it seems that many SMEs already identified their technology provider before submitted. And one company also answered that they really needed a tailor-made solution. So we have more today than 70 offers on the marketplace, but it's still needed to increase this number. Now we go on the third part of the SME survey. It was about the mentorship. As you can see, the first question was, during the deployment voucher process, have you received the required support? As you can see, practically all SMEs estimate that they received the required support, and seems to be really enthusiastic about their experience, saying that they have that having access to extra knowledge from experts in the field is a really real benefit for the DT project. And the relation between SMEs and mentors was different from one case to another, but it seems that they find a good way to collaborate in most cases. The mentor support was also really needed, required, dealing with administrative aspects and reporting, and sometimes for having more links with the Change to Twin consortium. The other question was, would you recommend this scheme to other SMEs? 100 of those surveyed will recommend this scheme. mainly because it's an easy access to funding, international contact, and access to experts in the field and good and best practices. So the mentorship was also a key issue in the process. Finally, please, Francesca, can we go to, yes, thank you. Finally, the last question was, can you rate the support from Change to Twin project, mentoring, tools, knowledge, and so on? As you can see, the overall process was well marked, 4.2. We should keep in mind that some SMEs are asking for more contact, communication, exchange with the Change to Twin project and the partners, but also with other SMEs involved in the process to exchange information and sometimes resolve problems. So we can say that in overall, it's a very successful project. And that it's very important that SMEs work closely with their mentors. Yes, that's the conclusion of the survey. Thank you.
Thank you, Julie. Thank you, Egbert. I think also to Egbert that indeed, I think we choose this tool. Autori is partner of the project, and indeed it's European companies, and also for, let's say, confidentiality issue. I think it's a good idea to use European technology and to be sure where this data and this information are collected and so on. But we will take, I think it's also very useful for Autori to get your feedback to improve their product for the next round. So thank you very much for that. And yeah, from the other, I don't know if you have any other feedback that Julie did not mention or that you want to highlight. I think the most the biggest criticism is maybe the unclarity on the. Sorry, if I go back to the previous slide on the justification and reporting, but yeah, that maybe it's not. It was not clear what was expected in this document. As Anka said, this is the only thing that we asked you to be able to release the payment, which is a very good. In my opinion, a very good approach and easier approach for you, because yeah, you just have to report on the work that you have done. But we also mentioned that Amir and Roman, that indeed what is not reported does not exist. So it is important to report everything in the document very thoroughly. And maybe sometimes we ask you to refine the document in order to be better and clearer on this aspect. Okay. If there's no other question, we go to the testimony of the two of the company that work with us. And in particular, we will start with Neutroplast and with Tanya. Tanya, the floor is yours.
Hello everyone, thank you for the invitation. First of all, so you can pass the slide, please. Yeah, well, I will make just a quick introduction of Neutroplast. So we are SME specialized in the production of plastic packaging and medical devices. We are in Portugal, in around 1 hour from Lisbon. We are a very active enterprise, and we are in our core value there is innovation and sustainability. So for us it was really important this deployment voucher, because it was an opportunity to experiment on this digital twin solution, to increase our work for the sustainability of the company. Either way is about materials or even financial. Can you pass this? Well, I will be kind of short here. I want to, in our experience, the deployment voucher has maybe 2 points that were less well done, not because of how the project is set, but maybe how we use it. So about the mentoring, in our perspective, we had around bi-weekly or monthly meetings with our mentor, but I think that we could have used the mentoring session in a better way than the way that we use. So I think that is something from our part. And the time and its management, I think that it was already present at the beginning. We had some, we lost maybe some time with the IMP time that was only already in the month 1, and we start maybe working after the approval, and that was a mistake because we didn't maybe realize that we should maybe start to work, but we were worried that we would start to work and the IMP will not be accepted. So that caused some delays with agreement with partnerships with partners, and so we lost kind of valuable time on it. And think though what is well with this deployment voucher, I think it was already said too, is that it was a great opportunity for small companies to, maybe it's the wrong word, but to try in this new field that is the Industry 4.0 and the digital twin solution that sometimes can be expensive and not every time we have the knowledge inside. So it's a very good push for the SMI in the technical point of view and in the financial one too. The marketplace for us, we use one of the solutions present in it. We took quite amount of time to decide to use the marketplace because we had some feedback from some partner that say that sometimes the marketplace, the solutions are not really ready for the market, so they are in TLR like 7 or 8. But at the end, we choose a solution, and even if we needed to adapt a little bit the solution for our case study, it fit quite well. So I think in general, the marketplace is something that is really good because there is so many solutions in the market in this field that at least for someone that are not acquainted with the field, at least it narrow a little bit the solution and where to choose from. And I think one point that it was really well was the availability of the team for support and answering the questions that we had, mainly about the equipment and some more administration question. So they are very prompt answering and very clear. So thank you very much for that. It worked really good for this first deployment voucher. Can you pass, please? Well, and to finish, I want to maybe point some of the things that we notice and we struggle with the execution of this project. So we had 3 receipts that we had assessed before this deployment voucher, and we choose one of them to apply. So I think the three first blocks are correlated. So when applying for this voucher, I think it's important to choose well the receipt that we are choosing to apply to experiment in our companies or what we want to do. Make also a very good evaluation of the needs from the providers, from the machinery of software. We were one of those companies that had struggled with our machinery provider to update. We had a need of an update in the machine to be able to do the deployment, and we were really delayed by them, and that's goes to the last point, that is the book as soon as possible the update, because from the previous thing that I said, that we struggle to initiate the execution. So we talked with our provider for the update quite late, so they had like a very difficult agenda. So everything was delaying even more. So as soon as possible, book put a date to do the update, even if it's still in the IMP month or before. Anyway, we can cancel and it's not a problem. So one thing that is said for this project to be successful is really important to communicate with the team, because it's only 9 months of project. So it's really important, a high communication, effective communication with the team and the mentor. And we had weekly meetings, and then beside the meetings, have close monitoring like every 2 days or every time that's important to have an update with the execution and the troubles, so we can move forward. And if there is some delays, to have some to choose another path to go to resolve it. And something that is really important, I think, that is the definition of KPIs. We defined some KPIs, but they were quite long-term KPIs. So at the end, for the final report, it was quite difficult to make a fair evaluation of them. So one of the things that probably we should be aware of is when we do the IMP, to choose KPIs of short-term KPIs and long-term and maybe medium and long-term KPIs. So it would be easier at the end to evaluate the execution of the project. Yeah, and that's all.
Thank you very much. I think this comment on the KPIs, indeed, that is very. Thank you very much. We probably, we have to be more precise in defining KPIs that could be reached at the end of the project, because that will help the evaluation of the overall project. And then you can also have a longer impact, let's say longer term impact. But indeed, that's a very valuable comment. And I have a question regarding the mentorship.
Yeah.
What you would do differently now? I mean, how would you use differently the mentorship? Or
well, I think I will probably use it. Well, I will. We had mainly one-to-one meetings. I was the one talking with the mentor. So sometimes some technical things I was trying to explain, but I'm not an expert on it, so I would probably include more often the technical team with the mentor to discuss a little bit more the technical topics on in the execution of the project, and also I would discuss more possible maybe plan Bs or plan Cs when we think that some problem will arise, because they offer us the possibility to get to talk with other people or to find companies that could fulfill some technical things, but we said no at that time. But probably today, knowing what we know today, I will be more open to that, even if it was only for information.
Thank you for that. And also last comment about the marketplace. So you said indeed that that is also a valuable comment, that you were a bit not confident to use the marketplace, because even if it narrows down a bit the technology and it is curated about a digital twin and so on, the solution maybe it's not the TRL is not enough for you. Did you find that because we mentioned the TRL in the marketplace, so did you find that the technology that you founded as the correct TRL? I mean, it was in line with what this was.
Yes. So. Well, I will not lie, because I think that there's no point here. So at the beginning of the project, we completely said that we will not go to the marketplace, that because our partners say that usually the TLR are not 9, so they are not so ready. So the best thing to do was to find another company that could provide the solution. In our case, we needed an edge solution. But during the execution, we had some trouble finding the solution, a company, also with the prices that we got, that we had budget, so everything was more expensive. So we decided to take again a look to the marketplace and to choose to see what was there without caring so much about the TLR, even if it was something important. So we contacted 3, and we had meetings to explain our needs, and depending on the feedback of the provider, we choose one. And the solution, if it was not TLR 9, it was a 8.5, and we are really satisfied with it. It does what it was supposed to. So we just needed some. I think that almost all solutions need to be adapted for the final user. So some couple of adaptation, and it works perfectly.
Okay, thank you very much, Tanya.
Welcome.
And now I give the floor to, this is the slide I was looking before. Sorry about that. I don't know why it went here. I give the floor to Alessandro Candiani from DNFON for his feedback on the deployment process and deployment vouchers. Thank you, yes. Alessandro.
Thank you, Francesca, for the introduction. Can you hear me well?
Yes,
okay,
we can.
Perfect. Thanks. So I am Alessandro Candiani from DNFON, and our project was SAND, Smart Analysis in Digital Twin. So in the next slide, we are going to see very briefly, I don't want to speak about our project because this is not the place and the issue, but I want just to introduce the complexity of the service that we provide, because we learn many things that are technical, focus on our product and all the product similar. So we are a company that provide solution for quality control in food and beverage sector. In particular, we are providing chemical analysis for wine, beer, olive oil, and other beverage at the moment. The platform is composed by different parts. We have an hardware part, spectrophotometer for chemical analysis. We have a software app that we develop. We have cloud services, and we have also all the part related to the chemical reagent. So we have a product that can touch many different pillars, different sectors. So why I'm speaking about this? Because we applied for the assessment before and then the deployment voucher for a reason. In the next slide, you will see that to implement all this structure, we start doing manually one by one. This means that every single product, every single hardware, and also sometimes the software and cloud services has to be treated like one single unit. And manually, we had to set, to check, and to do many things. So we decided to apply this project because we need, of course, a digitalization to improve two aspects: the production process, but also the quality of our product. So in the last point, I just wrote the main reason to apply for the change to twin and to create the digital twin. So to increase productivity and product quality, improve the customer satisfaction, and simulate eventual new market opportunity. So to do this, what we have done, we start to learn about the digital twin, and in the next slide, you will see, let's say, the main impact that we have reached thanks to the digital twin. So before digital twin, we were desperate by means that we have many bottleneck in the company and we could not reach specific goal. With the digital twin, we improve a lot our system. But I wanted to underline two different aspects. The first is related to the KPI. So at the beginning, we wrote a very, I have to say, a very ambitious project. Because why? Because we didn't know exactly the technology, the services, and the power of the digital twin. All of us, or many of the people working in iPhone, are technicians. We are engineers, software and communication engineer, but we could understand the power and the potential of this project, but we didn't know in detail. So this was the first challenge to face: how to fit a very big and ambitious project to KPI, because at the end we have to release specific KPI that has to be quantified, has to be clear, has to be understandable, and hopefully reachable. So the first 3 points are related to our KPI, and we could do it working, of course, a lot. But in the second, the last 2 points, infrastructure improvement and technical knowledge boost, are specific positive side effect that we have reached thanks to the project. And this is something that we have learned. What does it mean, infrastructure improvement? So it means that we have to implement the digital twin. We have to see more in depth our infrastructure, more in depth our product, in order to improve it and reach specific KPI. So for us, Change the Twin project was a very big value because gave us the opportunity to sit down for a moment, to start to think a better architecture. I'm speaking technically about how to save data, how to manage data, how to connect different parts of the company. So for us, this was like a holy moment in which we had the time and we had the opportunity, thanks to the project, to sit down and to see what we could really improve. Because often when you are a small SME, we start as a startup and now we are SME since 3 years, we don't have the possibility, the time to think and to create a optimized structure. We have to run in order to reach the market, in order to reach our specific commercial goals. So the first very positive effect are these 2 points. We could learn much more our infrastructure, our product, in order to improve that specific feature that we wrote and we knew since the EMP. And the second point, technical knowledge boost, because we improve a lot our internal expertise. Just a small parenthesis. We had a look to the marketplace, and our problem was this. First of all, there was not tailor-made solution for our specific product, because our product is very focused on to create digital twin of electronic and optical component. So at that point, we didn't found any, let's say, company that could help in so detailed project. The second things, we try to move and to change a bit the KPI, but I have to say that the cost of some solution that we have looked at, it were a bit expensive. And this means that for this reason and other reason, we decide to start to create our own knowledge in order to implement what we have described in the AMP. Next slide. I will show you some more general aspects that we have learned, but they are connected to the previous one. So focus on real need. What does it mean? What my previous colleague has said, and also all of you have underlined, which it means that at the beginning we have very, very ambitious goal and very, very high level goal to reach, but we had to focus on specific goal that we could reach in 9 months and with this budget. And this was the first challenge. So not to write the project, but to enter in the real world and to see, look, we write a very big project, but in this case, we can reach maybe 80%, and maybe we can continue with more time because we are continuously implementing the solution that we have started with the digital twin. So this was very important, specifically in the first months of the project. So to spend time to design and to understand very well what we could implement in the next months and what we could reach concerning goal and KPI. The second point is very important as well. So is internalize knowledge as much as possible, because we have developed essentially software, and the software we define that like a living creature that require ongoing support, implementation, and maintenance. So this means that it's nice to have a ready-to-use product that you can buy outside, even if to find the best product that fit for your company is almost impossible. You have always to customize and to change some boundary condition. But so far, we understood that it can take longer time to implement internally, because you have to study, you have to learn, you have to try, you have to test, and then maybe you can reach your first goal, but has a very high value in the mid and long-term view of the company. The third point is very important as well. Why? Because since we could not reach marketplace and we could not find a tailor-made solution for the reason that I have already said, we decide to put in leverage this project in order to contact also other partner in the university or in the private sector, in order to exchange information and to exchange some kind of tip. Also with the aim to implement new project and new opportunity that could leave us to implement more than we have done until today. So to make strong interaction with other partners for us means find an easier solution to exchange knowledge in order to reach your goal and your KPI faster, but also to give the opportunity to the company to continue the path that we have started with Change to Twin, even if Change to Twin project finished. There is a fourth point that I didn't write here, but is Holly, and I have to say, we learn to trust, and I can suggest to trust your mentor, because the mentor it's a key role in all this project, and it is the interface between the company and the consortium. So maybe you are very good in writing code or in developing something, but at some point you have to write KPI. You have to define some output, and in this, I think the mentor can be very, very useful. We have in this specific situation, we work with Armir that was always present and guide us since in the best choice, but more than ever in the presenting KPI. Because yes, I have to say that we had some problem in KPI definition. At least we knew exactly what to implement to improve our structures, our production process, and our product. But something is to implement, something is to present in a best way, in a good way that everyone can understand what we have done. So the work that we have done. And I have to say that we found a very good mentor, but I want to say, don't be afraid, ask for interaction, ask every time that you have a question, because even if a couple of words can help you to understand something or to comfort you, to make you more comfort in the development of the project. I would suggest also something else. I think that are very, very important meeting between, yes, with your mentor, but also with other company involved in the project. Because often the problem of one company can be generalized and can be a tip, or can be the same problem of another company. So in general, we have a culture that we like interaction, and we like to spend even few minutes or half an hour of video call with somebody external of the project, but can give us some kind of tips and comment. So I very push for this kind of interaction, and that's all for my part.
Thank you, Alessandro. That was also very interesting. So would you suggest, for example, so you mean interaction between the company and the deployment vouchers at an early, because you met at the review meeting, but then it was late, actually, the project was finished. So do you think it would be useful to have a sort of this
I would say
with the, maybe
yes.
after the IMP or something like that?
The IMP,
or even before?
The IMP is very, very important, of course. And I think that for the IMP, the most valuable interaction is with the mentor, because the mentor is a person, technical person, that has also the possibility to speak with the consortium and with other experts. So can tell you, look, your EMP is very nice, but maybe it's too much, considering that this project is for 9 months and for this amount of budget. Very good if you can continue later, or very good if you can enter in this path in order to reach at least the first KPI or the first goal in order to respect the development of the project. But I think also after the EMP, it's very important the interaction between the company involved in the project. The midterm meeting was very nice, was very useful. From my part, but this is my opinion, and maybe I would do another initial term meeting, maybe after 3 months or before, just to make the people speak with them, because it's also good to know that other people are facing problem. Not good for the problem, but in general to know that in general digital twin is a very not new topic, but something that people can understand. But to know exactly, you have to study, and you have to enter in this kind of project. So speaking with other people that are in your condition, let's say, can help first to understand the level of the other partner, And second, also to exchange tip and to exchange comment, to exchange solution. I know that every company has a specific solution to develop, but I think that the culture and the interaction can help.
Yeah, okay. Thank you very much for that.
You're welcome.
And then I go to the last presentation because we are a bit late. So I give the word to Jochen from Jotne to talk about the use of standards.
Yes, thank you. May I use my slides? I have a few changes.
Yes, please. I stop
Okay.
sharing.
Thank you. I'll just do it here. So yes, I have 4 slides. I will try to be quick. So presentation view. Yeah.
Yes, it's correct. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Ah, okay, we lost
Yes.
Jochen, I think.
Yes.
Yes.
I think too.
Okay, so we wait a couple of minutes, probably he's trying to reconnect.
I tried to call him, Francesca.
Thank you, Julie.
Hello?
Yeah, Jochen?
Did you hear me or didn't you?
Now,
Hello?
yes.
Only first now? Okay.
Yes.
Um,
Can you share again your slide?
yes, I can do that. What happened?
I don't know. It was you freeze somehow, and
All
then
right.
the
At which point about?
beginning.
At the beginning, okay.
Yeah.
Well, yes, digital twins are complex. They have many. And now I see,
Sorry,
right?
now we see the slide in the other mode, not in.
Okay. Let's see. Get all of this here. Somehow I should be able to. Maybe I should share a different view, right? That's probably what I need to do. Let's see whether that works.
If you want, I can share. Now it's okay. Now it's in.
Now it's okay, right?
Yeah.
Just user issue. So yes, digital twins. A little bit about what it is. That there are many technologies involved and many interfaces, which all these arrows indicate. It's complex. That was what I wanted to say there. On the second slide, there has been attention to digital twins, both in industry, which you see a little bit of a statement on the left-hand side, but also by the Commission, and here also in relation to the research area, so Horizon, for example. And as you see, this has standards offer a basis for the integration of diverse technologies into complex innovative systems and solutions, enable interoperability, and so on and so on. So it's recognized that standards can be of help to everybody. They don't resolve everything, but yeah, as I said, can be some help. See, I get to the next one. Here we are. Another picture, which again highlights the various technologies. And we see in a way it's hardware involved, it's software involved, infrastructure, and there are other topics like what Alessandro mentioned concerning organizational aspects, and for SMEs especially to get familiar with the digitization issues. And not all of that is resolvable by standards, but some of these items are, and that's what we probably need to work with. So we often say it's not only digital twin we want to implement, but it's an advantage to go for an open standard-based digital twin. So last slide, what did we learn? What did I see at least? The first thing is that standards have a low attention, especially at the start of these deployments. They had a very low attention. We have worked with this in Change to Twin, and we updated documentation requirements, updated also the invitation to deployments, and have got more focus on it. So kind of a forced attention. But that's not what people have in their forehead or their mind to start with. Maybe understandable, but we should help in a way that it gets is highlighted in a way because it is of help. Standards are of help. So focus is on solution development. Maintenance of the solution in the end is often not given much attention. Again, here Alessandro is probably a good example for the opposite. They were thinking of it and see that what they invest into the development of digital twins need to take into account what the costs are during the lifetime of digital twin. And this is where standards play an important role. So you, as in the statement by the Commission, you see where that vendor lock-in, for example, is mentioned as a danger and something which standards can help with. The third bullet point, there are few consider standards to be a core contribution to the solution. This is really, I mean, we get several of the deployments and companies to list standards that they were using, but it seemed to me that this sentence down here, right, that standards come with a product. I mean, they're buying a gateway, and then of course they get some GSM support or some Ethernet support with it, because the product has that. It is seldom that the users look for a product that supports a certain standard, and that's maybe something we should try to change. Recommendations, in general, increase the awareness of what standards are good for. That is not an annoyance, but is something which really is helpful, which collects the knowledge of many people while they have been developing standards, so things do not need to be invented again. Then specifically, probably the benefits in digital twins, in which area of a digital twin are which standards useful. And for standards where really there is a decision required, in some cases, as I said, whether you use the internet or want to use mobile phones and so on, you probably don't bother about the standards, they are simply given. But in some cases, an educated decision is required, and there we should try to help. And I think we suggested already and are working on guidelines for applicability and use of some core standards as part of Change to Twin. There's a simple one, ask experiments, why did they choose a certain standard? Because I think that will probably highlight that maybe they didn't give it so much of a thought, but the standard simply comes with a product. And something which we talked about at the beginning with the marketplace, maybe also there the visibility of standard support should be increased. I mean, right now you can search for the word standard, for example, and you will find the solutions where standard is mentioned, but this is a bit on the surface, maybe scratching on the surface. Yes, that's it. Sorry for the problem at the beginning. Thank you.
Thank you, Jochen, for this assessment and I mean this feedback on that, on the use of the standards. And we still have a couple of minutes, and I would like to open the floor to everyone. If you have any comment or any question about the deployment voucher, about this section. Sorry, I share my screen. So you can express your views or your feedback. But of course, you can also do that writing to us later on. We really appreciate your contribution in that, if you have some. We will share the slide of this meeting. We will also share the recording or part of it. We will see how to editing the recording. And we thank you very much for your presence and participation. And of course, thank you very much to all my colleagues that gave a very interesting and useful presentation. Oh, there's something in the chat. Thank you. So, so does somebody wants to speak? Yes, please, Thomas, go ahead.
Yeah, I wanted to ask about the last presentation about the standards. Was there any best practice in the deployment projects about using standards, and how was this implemented?
Yeah, we don't have a best practice yet. What we did in the project so far, we provided overviews over standards that are applicable in certain areas. So whether it's within security or within data interoperability, what we are working on right now is exactly, I think, what you're asking for, the kind of best practice to identify standards where users maybe which they are not so aware of, which they need to relate to themselves, though they don't come automatically usually, and where there are choices to be taken. So still needed.
And for the next round, would you suggest having like a small workshop in the design phase with Jotne, even though you're not the mentor, to discuss this point? Or when would you say would be the best point to discuss, including standards in the design phase, I guess? Or... Yeah,
it's a good idea, of course. Yeah, the earlier the better. I mean, as soon as you have made up your mind and what you want to do anyway. So yeah, right after the start, I would suggest it to do that. And we are available for that, yes.
All right, thank you.
Thomas, do you mean, let's say, one-to-one with Jotne about this topic, or for all the selected SMEs?
No, the question was when starting a deployment project, what's the best way to address the standard issues? Is it having let's say, a dedicated meeting together with Jotne and the project team to discuss the issue and how to proceed? And I guess the answer was yes, just have it in the design phase, discuss about the project and get feedback from Jotne about standards, if I understood you correctly, Jochen.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, we will include that. Thank you very much for that. Okay, so if there's no other question, then I propose to close the meeting. And I thank you very much again for your participation. And hope to see you soon. We will follow up with the information. We will send you the information later on.
Thank you all.
Thank you all.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Good day.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Okay,
Thank
thank you.
you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.